Lincoln Beachy thought it was a dream to go up into heaven in a flying machine. The machine broke down and down he fell. Instead of going to heaven, he went to...
Lincoln Beachy is probably one of the most famous pilots you've never heard of. Known as the man who owned the sky, Beachy got his big break when the star pilot at a Los Angeles air show got hurt.
Beachy leapt in to take his place, shot the plane up into the sky when the motor died. It was then that he went into a deadly nosediving spin. No pilot had ever survived such a dive, but Beachy did what no pilot had ever done. He turned into the spin, regained control, and landed the plane.
After that, millions of people came to see him fly. He invented several aerial acrobatics and set many records. And when the people came to see him fly, they often knew when he was in the air, because Lincoln Beachy used his plane as a flying billboard.
By the time he died in 1915, he had become so famous that his name lived on in this catchy little jump rope jingle. Today we are going to take you into the world of aerial advertising.
Come along as we step into the STEM in 30 Advertising Agency.
Welcome to the STEM in 30 Advertising Agency, where our motto is
Big and shiny,
or something like that. Today we've got some great workers coming in, and we are going to task them with making the greatest advertisement of all time. Advertising is a marketing tactic involving paying to promote a product, service, or cause. The goal of advertising is to reach people most likely to be willing to pay for a company's product or services and entice them to buy.
The average American is exposed to 4,000 to 10,000 ads per day, and that number has doubled since 2007. By high school graduation, you will have watched about 350,000 television commercials. Over 90% of U.S. companies use social media for advertising.
The average person needs to see a brand, product, or service 7 times in ads before they buy. This is sometimes known as the rule of 7 and explains why you see the same ads over and over again.
In 2021, more than $285 billion US was spent on advertising in the United States. To put that into perspective, American sports franchises are worth a lot of money. If you combine the value of the teams in the 3 major sports leagues in the United States, baseball, basketball, and football, it would be less than the $285 billion spent on advertising.
Knowing how advertisers try to influence you is an important step in becoming a knowledgeable media consumer. Here come our worker bees now.
Come on in, y'all are just in time for our staff meeting.
I want to go back. You guys should check it out. Yeah.
Welcome everyone, let's get this meeting off the ground.
I see what you did there. Who knows something about skywriting?
Oh, I do. Skywriting is not new. In fact, it goes back to the early years of aviation. It's credited to the Royal Air Force Major John Clifford Savage. In 1910, he came up with its techniques and had a successful skywriting fleet in England. Savage flew throughout the 1920s and 1930s, bringing the practice to America.
The first big advertising skywriting extravaganza was in 1922 at Derby Day, a popular horse race in England. During the event, a pilot named Cyril Turner wrote Daily Mail over the crowds. A few months later, after shipping his plane to the United States, he wrote Hello USA over Manhattan. The next day, he came back and wrote in the sky the telephone number of the hotel where he was staying. It was rumored, but never proven, that after the stunt, the hotel's phone rang continuously for 3 hours.
Skywriting became a popular way to advertise for the next several decades, except for during World War II, when planes were in high demand for military purposes. In fact, skywriting became one of the preferred ways of advertising because of its ability to reach large numbers of people at big events.
Skywriting is a great introduction to scale as an advertising technique.
And there's a lot of work that needs to be done before they ever even get off the ground.
Ellie and Bryce, why don't you head out and connect with a skywriter and report back?
Will do, boss. I'm so excited. I know. Hi, Suzanne. Thanks for talking with us.
We're so glad to be here. I'm Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
And we're skywriters.
How does skywriting work?
Well, the short answer is it's magic, but of course it's not. I used a 1929 biplane that's open cockpit, and we get up to a really high altitude with the airplane. It has what they call a smoke system on it, which is really just a lightweight fluid being injected into the hot exhaust, which then creates what they call smoke, but it's really a vapor. And that vapor is what I use as my pencil to write the word in the sky. And in order to do that, I've got to get in really nice, smooth air, have a nice blue background for the white letters to show up. And then when I go to start a letter or a word, it's all timing, counting, headings, maintaining really precise altitude, really precise headings, and really consistent turns that you need to make to form the letters.
And it takes an incredible situational awareness that you have to have, because you can't be looking at compasses, they lag behind you and stuff. So you use section lines on the ground if you're lucky enough to see a checkerboard kind of thing. That helps you make square turns. It gets really tough when you're out over Maine or something like that, or Nova Scotia or Canada, where they don't have, and at times you will actually use the sun, which is an only non-moving object that you can use to get your headings. Like, here's the sun, so I'm headed right towards it. If I want to turn 90 degrees, I put the sun off to my right. This is when you've had a lot of practice, and you've got the skill set it takes to do it.
What's the size of a typical advertisement?
Well, like when we were skywriting for Pepsi, primarily, we wrote a lot of Pepsis in the sky. And we would say it's about 3/4 of a mile from the bottom of the letter to the top of the letter. And Pepsi would stretch about 4 or 5 miles in the sky. And the reason it doesn't look that big is because we're up over 2 miles high in the sky, or right at, and around 10,000 feet or so. So that's why it doesn't look that big, and that's why you can't really see the airplane very well, because we're so far away. And the other thing we forgot to mention is we're writing, what we're putting out is mirror image to what our audience is seeing on the ground, because we're on top of the word and our audience is underneath. So to make it correct, we have to write it mirror image.
How key is the concentration?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. It's it's very key, and there's a lot going on when you're flying the airplane itself. Number one, you're having to work with air traffic control because you're right in the middle of the biggest city air traffic all over the country, and then also having to concentrate on counting for your size of your turns. And one time I was very new to the skywriting. I was in Chicago and it was very cold on the ground. And then when you get up to altitude, it drops 3.5 degrees per 1,000 feet. So it's really cold at 10,000 feet. So I would always bundle up in my snowmobile suit, and people thought I was nuts if it was like 80 on the ground. But anyway, in an open cockpit biplane, it gets chilly. And so I went up and I was writing Pepsi, and my instructor, my mentor, was on a radio interview, live radio interview in downtown Chicago. And I did my first P, and then I got distracted with air traffic control. They were pointing out traffic to me, and I went into my next letter, which obviously should have been an E, and I did another P, and then went right on in to finish out Pepsi. So it was PPEPSI. And so when I got on the ground, of course, I was getting all kinds of harassment. And of course, it was one of those that stayed forever. It was just perfect in the sky. bright blue Chicago day. And when I landed, I was working out of one of the fire stations there. And the guys came out and just really started ribbing me. And I said I was cold, I was stuttering. And so and Jack loved it on the radio because the station was flooded with phone calls saying how the Skywriter was up there messing up. So yeah, you got to pay attention.
Everybody's a critic.
Thanks for talking with us.
Hey, it was so fun being with you guys today. I hope you learned something about the amazing art of skywriting.
Thank you so much. We can't wait to put what we've learned to good use.
Great to see you.
Skywriting is amazing.
We have an idea to show you how it works. Skywriting is huge. The letters are often 1,500 feet tall, and they are done almost 2 miles up. The tricky thing is that the words have to be written backwards so that people on the ground can read them. First, let's plan out some skywriting using graph paper. Make sure the letters are backwards and large enough to be easy to make from an airplane where you can't really see what you are writing. Next, we'll use shaving cream to simulate our smoke. The plexiglass will be like our canvas, with the camera below being the people on the ground seeing our skywriting above them. These letters, when done at the right size, can be seen for miles and miles. The scale is so impressive that people notice the message.
You all did a great job.
Now it's time to learn about our next advertising technique, celebrity endorsement.
Nichelle Nichols was an actress who played Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. She broke many barriers, including being one of the first African-American actresses on American television.
She helped NASA promote and recruit diverse astronauts, including some of the first female and minority astronauts.
These ads were instrumental in recruiting some amazing astronauts, including Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman in space.
Even the National Air and Space Museum has used celebrity endorsements.
It begins with a spark. That passion can grow. Lighting the way forward for a lifetime.
Isn't that Han Solo? No, it's Indiana Jones.
You are correct! That's Harrison Ford, who played both roles.
This footage was used to promote the museum's transformation. The newly reimagined museum is now open.
Why don't you all head downstairs to try to find another celebrity endorsement?
Is this it? Can a lion actually be a celebrity endorsement? I think so. Check this out. This is Gilmore, the flying lion, the famous mascot of aviation personality and air racer, Roscoe Turner. Turner was the most famous air racer of the 1930s and a master showman. Turner designed his own flying uniform and personal insignia to increase the appeal and image of aviation. Children would send in special 57 trademarks from H.J. Heinz Company products to join Turner's club. In return, they would receive a brass pin featuring wings embossed with Colonel Roscoe Turner's Flying Corps 57. In early 1930, Turner received a major sponsorship from the Gilmore Oil Company, which was well known for its Red Line gasoline brand. He wanted to advertise for his sponsor in an interesting way, so he went down to the Hollywood Lion Colony in Southern California and acquired a cub and named him Gilmore. Soon, this cub flew with Turner all over the United States, even breaking speed records along the way. Gilmore even had his own parachute and harness, just in case of an emergency. Turner and Gilmore only flew together for 9 months before Gilmore got too big to fly, but in that time, Gilmore flew more than 25,000 miles. I wonder if there are any other celebrity endorsements that aren't from people. Are there any non-human celebrity endorsements?
Great question. One that quickly comes to mind is the Goodyear Blimp.
It has become synonymous with sporting events, so much so that if you ask most people to name a blimp, they'll say Goodyear.
This is because of repetition.
Repetition is seeing something over and over again.
This is because of repetition.
Seeing something over and over again so that you remember it.
They're hard to miss. You've probably seen them at some sporting event, either on TV or in person.
The Goodyear Blimp is part of a fleet of aircraft owned and operated by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company.
They are mainly used for advertising purposes and capturing aerial views for sporting events and other televised happenings.
Goodyear first introduced their blimps used for advertising in 1925, and today maintains a fleet of 4 airships, 3 in the United States and 1 in Europe.
While the new fleet is made up of semi-rigid airships, which have an internal frame, Goodyear continues to refer to them as blimps.
The Goodyear Blimp has also made history. In 1930, they became the first blimp to carry a lighted sign. In 1967, the Goodyear Blimp Columbia provided live television coverage for the first Super Bowl. And in 1989, during the World Series in San Francisco, a massive earthquake hit, and footage from the blimp provided crucial aerial views of the damage for relief efforts.
And proving that not all celebrities are people. In January 2019, the Goodyear Blimp became the first non-human inductee into the College Football Hall of Fame. You all have been doing some great work.
But there are a few more types of advertising that we need to brush up on before your final project.
In the collection of the National Air and Space Museum, we have a huge assortment of airline posters.
Your next job is to take these airline posters and match them up with the type of advertising they depict.
Remember that advertising is trying to get you to do or buy something.
Have at it.
It's only logical. When you see this ad, look at all of the important things this airline has on every flight. They have 2 pilots and 2-way radios. It's an appeal to logic. These features make this airline the logical choice.
Scientific appeal. Wow, look at how complicated that cockpit is. It must be cutting-edge technology, which is a scientific appeal, showing that use of innovation, science, and technology makes their service better. Snob appeal. We all want to fly first class. This is an example of snob appeal, showing everyone they can fly in luxury if they use this airline. Appeal to emotion. Doesn't everyone love kids and puppies? This can be one of the most persuasive forms of advertising.
You all did awesome work. But did you know that products sometimes get into advertising battles to see which one reigns supreme?
And in the 1980s, it was the Cola Wars.
2 popular brands of soda kept trying to outdo each other with the best ads to get you to drink their product.
And the Cola Wars even went into space.
Here's a blast from the past, an interview Beth did on the very first episode of STEM in 30. Take out your devices and check it out.
I'm here today with curator Valerie Neal, and we're taking a look at some space food. And Valerie, I'm curious, how did we get these very strange looking soft drink cans in our collection?
Well, Coca-Cola and Pepsi approached NASA about flying soft drinks in space in an early shuttle mission in the early 1980s. This was a time known as the Cola Wars, when Coke and Pepsi were very competitive with each other, each wanting to be the #1 soft drink provider in the world. And what could be cooler than to be the first soft drink in space?
So why soft drinks?
Well, they thought that maybe the crews would like to have a greater variety in their beverage selection. Astronauts had always been accustomed to powdered drinks, and they thought that maybe they'd like to have a good all-American soft drink while they were in space. But there are problems with that.
Yeah, I can see they've got these bizarre tops on them.
Exactly. If you were to pop the top of a soft drink can in space, it would spew everywhere and make a big mess. Or even if you twisted the cap, it would float out of the bottle. So the companies put some time and effort into devising a special soft drink can for use in weightlessness. And Coke developed a device on top that you would actually put in your mouth and push the button, and it would squirt the soft drink into your mouth. And then Pepsi did an adaptation of a standard shaving cream can or a whipped cream can, where again you would put the little spigot on top right into your mouth and drink that way. And just as shaving cream and whipped cream come out pretty foamy, so did Pepsi, and so did Coke for that matter. The crews were not really impressed with the taste or the mix of carbonation and syrup.
And is it in there just the way an ordinary Coke can or Pepsi can is?
No, there's actually structure inside the can to keep the carbonation and the syrup separate, so that they would mix at the point of drinking.
Okay.
And they tried different combinations and they never got the taste quite right or the consistency quite right.
Well, how do you keep an ice cold soft drink in space?
Well, that was also part of the problem. There's no refrigerator on the space shuttle, and so they had to drink at room temperature. And who likes to drink a warm soft drink?
Not me.
Not the astronauts either.
Well, thank you very much. It's very interesting history on cola wars in space.
We have covered a lot of different advertising strategies today.
And now it is your turn. We want you to go out and produce the most amazing ad we've ever seen.
Well, get going.
We think we've created the greatest ad of all time.
We took all the information and created this.
We think you'll like it.
We live in a digital world. Screens are everywhere. Anyone can create media,
Including us.
like this ad.
There's a world of information, good and bad, at our fingertips.
How do we know what to believe?
How do we know what's true and what's fake news?
It starts with us.
Us?
Yes, us. It starts with you.
We all have to be good media consumers.
Stop and think.
Stop and think.
Stop and think.
Stop and think.
Which messages make sense and which ones require more research?
Stop
And think.
The power is with you to be a good media consumer.
Before you share information, you should always stop and think.
Before you share a social media post, you should always stop and think.
It's up to you to make sure you don't get fooled,
Hoodwinked,
tricked,
bluffed,
conned,
coaxed,
used,
exploited.
flim-flammed. Only you can control how you interact with and understand the messages that you see and hear every day.
Stop and think.
Great job, everyone.
If you only take one thing away from today's episode, it's to be a good media consumer. And knowing how advertisers try to reach you is a great first step.
What was your favorite part of the episode?
If you like this episode, be sure to follow STEM30 on Facebook and Twitter.
And subscribe to the National Air and Space Museum's YouTube channel.
Thanks for watching.
Okay, what do you know?
Nothing. I do.
Bryce and Ellie, why don't you guys go out and connect with a Skywriter? You're supposed to go, okay.
Tell us about practice on ground.
On the ground.
It says on ground.
Stop it.
Screens are everywhere.
Okay.